you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
It's a latter-day prophet, baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
And how are we doing out there all across this great land of ours and around the world? It is that time. It's time for the Conservative Syndicate coming to you live right now, coast to coast, nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, the Conservative Syndicate. And I am your host, John Matthews, on a mission from God, and that mission is to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We do that on the Conservative Syndicate by espousing what we refer to as the conservative gospel and exposing the lameness of the leftist agenda. And we're glad to have you with us yet another Super Tuesday. I guess that's the phrase. It should be more like the super bombastically stupid, out of this world, whatever you want to call it. But it surely is a different primary season than I have seen in my past 61 years of living on God's greenest earth. God's green earth here, and I'm glad to have you with us tonight. I'm not so sure that by the time we get off the air tonight that we'll be able to give you any numbers as to what's going on in the 5 states that are doing primaries today. 2 of these 5 states will be an all or nothing with a total, I believe, 165 delegates, I think Florida has 99 at stake. And Ohio is 66. I think that's the right number. We're somewhere in there. And let's see here what we got here. Yeah, let's see. Florida 99 and Ohio. Oh, I didn't put Ohio's down today. Why didn't I mark Ohio down today? I don't know why. Anyway, I think it's somewhere around 65 or 66 for Ohio. And it's interesting. I guess I want to start the show off today once again, just bragging about how ahead of the curve we are here at the Conservative Syndicate. We started talking about a brokered convention in June of last year. I actually looked it up, and that was the first time that we mentioned it on the show, the possibility that we might see a brokered convention coming out of the Republican elites. And the only thing that is different from what we were saying then and what we are seeing now and hearing from almost everybody else who has finally caught up with our mad prophecies, I guess if we want to call it that, is that we thought it would be a brokered convention to compensate for the unpopularity of Jeb Bush. We thought we would end up with a brokered convention Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio ticket, something like that, because the rule changes of the RNC, they were already anticipating that they were going to have a hard time getting yet another Bush into office. And so we thought, they changed some of the rules, and the one thing that nobody really is talking about right now, everybody's talking about a contested convention or a brokered convention, or some people are referring to it as an open convention. But the one thing that nobody has talked about, and everything is still speculation. We think this, I think it's beyond speculation. And the reason I say that is because nobody is talking about rule number 40 that the RNC changed in 2014 that states that any candidate must take 50% or more in 8 of the states in which the contests are being held. Nobody in this contest has taken 8 states at 50% or more. I think Trump and Cruz each took 1. I think Trump took, North Carolina or South Carolina. He took one of the states at 51%, and I think Cruz took Texas at 54%, something like that. But nobody has accumulated 8 states with a 50% or more majority. And according to rule number 40 of the RNC, if they don't, then basically nobody can claim any of the delegates. And that means it has to go to a brokered convention. It's not going to be contested. It's not going to be somebody, you're not going to have Donald Trump showing up in Cleveland in July and saying, hey, wait a minute, I won the most of the delegates, or Ted Cruz saying, hey, I won most of the delegates. That isn't the way, that's a contested caucus or a contested convention. They can't do that. It's going to be brokered because nobody will legally, by the rules, be able to claim any of the delegates that they've accumulated, because none of them have taken 50% or more. And the strategy of the GOP elitists, one of the things we're going to talk about today, is garnered to or geared towards that. The idea that Rubio's already saying he's going to stay in the race no matter what happens. And that can only be to dilute the number of delegates to be able to pull proportionately and keep Trump and or Cruz from accumulating the needed delegates of 1,237 to be able to claim the nomination. Kasich has said, I believe he has said that he will drop out if he loses Ohio. But, then again, I'm not so sure that will happen either. So I think what's happened here at this point is that Rubio and Kasich have cut a deal with the elites that should it go to a brokered convention, they'll stay in and they'll continue to try to dilute the delegates. And the reason I know this is because Mitt Romney was out in Ohio campaigning for John Kasich, and he was down in Florida campaigning for Marco Rubio. So he's making the rounds, trying to get people. I don't know what it is when you have a 2-time loser going around and campaigning for you, and you're losing. So you're a 3-time loser. You're a loser who's got the help of other losers, previously documented losers, to try to turn yourself into a winner. It's amazing to me the thinking behind that. But that does underscore one of the major things we're going to talk about today. And that is a film that I saw, a clip that I saw yesterday on the Kelly File. I've been watching the Kelly File lately because they have been doing something I think is very unique and probably should be the standard by which future elections are conducted. And that is they've been having forums with just each candidate by themselves, either in front of voters or at a rally setting where the commentator like Hannity or Kelly will sit up there and ask questions, and they do it in front of their people, so you got the nice, friendly, positive atmosphere. But what you have is you have each candidate one-on-one answering the questions of either the audience or some of the questions that are being put to them by the pundits that are moderating the discussion. And yesterday on the Kelly File, she played about a 5-minute clip out of a show called The Circus, which is a series that's being shown on Showtime right now. And this is about the primary process. Each week they come on for like a half an hour, and they show you what's going on behind the scenes and what's going on. Well, the latest segment are 5 or 6 of these establishment elite operatives sitting at dinner over martinis and steak, explaining what the Trump phenomenon is, what it isn't, and how they're going to try to overcome it, or if they can even overcome it. And so I'm going to talk about that today. I've broken it down into 7 clips out of about 5 minutes, and we'll talk about each one as we go through the course of the day. Now, Don Dix from Act for America will be with us in the second hour here, and wherever we're at in our discussion today, he will join in or chime in with us on that. So having said that, we're going to go to our first commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about what's going on here behind the scenes as being documented on the show The Circus, being shown right now on Showtime. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. We'll be right back. You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
We are back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, Mad Prophet of the Airways, and as I said, we are on that mission from God, and that mission is to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We're glad to have you with us today. Quick update, Joe Hakos, our co-host here, is still healing up, and we're waiting for a report. He should be out of the hospital by now, and he'll probably be resting at least another week or so, and let's hope he's back. Finally found out what was wrong with him, and our best wishes out to him and his family. Our prayers and wishes and belief that he will be back shortly. So now, before we get into what I was talking about earlier in terms of this show, the circus, I looked at it last night. It's the first time I've actually watched it. I saw some previews of it before, and I've had some people talk about it. So I went on last night and watched a couple of the segments on the last couple segments. Interesting show, very interesting show, and I would have to say perhaps one of the best on real time documentaries that I've watched in quite a while. There's nothing jaded about it. There's nothing censored about it. There's nothing. Obviously, I think the people that are behind it certainly have some bias towards the Republican Party, but they're not people that are basically injecting their own agenda between anything. They're just asking very honest questions to the people that are running the shows on behind all these candidates, and they're just recording what they're hearing. There's no commentary. There's nothing else. It's just basic. We ask a question, they respond. They ask another question, they respond, and you get to see some of the things and hear some of the things that you're not hearing out there in cyberspace and on the media outlets. But before I do that, I want to just kind of touch on something here. This is certainly media bias. I don't know if you're aware of this effect or not, but I know we talked about it yesterday. A 78-year-old man out in North Carolina, if you were watching some of the clips that have been playing, showing or highlighting some of the violence that has been taking place at Trump rallies in the last couple of weeks, Cumberland County Sheriff out there in North Carolina, where there was a 78-year-old John Franklin McGraw. If you saw the video clip, he basically sucker punched one of the protesters that was being ushered out. And didn't just sucker punch him, he gave him an elbow. He walked up to him from the side and threw an elbow in this guy's face. And the man has been arrested. He's been charged with assault. And Trump has excavated this even more by saying that he may offer money to defend the man because of his actions, because, after all, the guy's upset with what's going on in America. And this is kind of the stuff that Trump is being accused of by everybody, whether they be Republican elites or Democratic elites or their operatives, that Trump is going too far, that he's inciting violence, that he's the one that is bringing about these violent confrontations at rallies. And all of a sudden, the protesters, the people that are disrupting these rallies, are the victims. And there's the narrative for you, the constant narrative that if you're disrupting something and you're on the left, you are protesting. But if somebody on the right was to do the same thing, well, you're a domestic terrorist, you're an insurgent, you're the problem, that kind of thing. And but what was interesting is Cumberland County Sheriff, apparently their office had been looking or investigating on charging Donald Trump with charges of inciting a riot because of what took place at this particular rally. They decided not to because they say while other aspects of our investigation are continuing, the investigation in regard to Mr. Trump and his campaign has been concluded, and no charges are anticipated. They were actually floating the idea of charging Donald Trump with inciting a riot because, I guess, of his language. And I'm still trying to get my head around this idea that when does free speech become hate speech? Free speech becomes hate speech when what? When somebody else on the other side determines that it's hate speech? When it becomes politically correct to call it hate speech because somebody on the other side or even somebody on our side has decided that the conversation is not within the parameters of civil discord or that kind of thing? Who determines when something becomes hate speech? I am not a proponent of violence. One of the things I've been taking heat for is the fact that I defend Donald Trump's decision not to acknowledge David Duke of the KKK. Everybody wants him to do something about it. And as I've been saying, David Duke is irrelevant. He's as irrelevant as the KKK is irrelevant. And the only reason, or the only time we hear about the KKK and people like David Duke is when the media wants to portray somebody as a racist or a hater. And so the idea that this guy comes out and says, well, I'm not endorsing Trump, but I think we should vote for him because of his stance on immigration. And Trump just basically says, well, I don't know much about the guy. I don't know really who he is or what he's talking about. But he's got his opinion. And, I'm not going to condemn the guy one way or the other because he's an American. He has the right to express his opinion. See, I'm of that belief. I'm not a Trump supporter. I got to keep telling people that. I'm not a Trump supporter. I don't think he's the guy we need to get this country back on the right track. That said, though, Trump has the right to do what he's doing and to say what he's saying. And David Duke has the right to do what he's doing and say what he's saying. Now, if David Duke was out there calling for KK members to rise up in Trump rallies and let's beat all the darkies and all the other things or anything like that, yeah, now you step out there and go, wait a minute, this is not what we're talking about. But all David Duke has said is simply, I agree with Donald Trump's immigration positions. And I think we should elect him because he will do something about the immigration problem that we have. And that is a valid opinion. It is a valid political opinion. It is a valid cultural opinion. And just because he's a member of the KKK, all of a sudden that has no relevance as to whether or not his position on immigration just happens to coincide with Donald Trump. See, this is where we're getting off the track here. We've been off the track for a long time because we on the right have remained too silent too long when those on the left try to come after our First Amendment rights. That's why do you think they're coming after our Second Amendment rights? Because we've never really stood up against them when it comes to our First Amendment rights. And so the idea that Donald Trump didn't disavow this guy, didn't condemn him for being a member of the KKK 40 years ago, now that means that he is now put into that category and labeled as a racist and a hater. So now everything he says has to do with race. Nothing Donald Trump has said, he has never singled out a single person of race, as far as I can tell, outside of Islam. Okay, and that's not a race, that's a theology. But he has never said, let's keep, well, he has mentioned Mexicans, let's keep the Mexicans in Mexico, the ones that are here draining our system and the criminals that are coming across the border and stuff. But he's not saying, he's never said anything in the context of, let's do this because they're Mexicans. He has always said, let's do this because they're illegal. He has never said, let's keep Muslims out of the United States because they're Muslims. He's saying, let's keep them out because they are part of a religion that right now is out there trying to kill people, no matter who they are, whether they're Americans or even fellow Muslims. And it's because of the theology, and until we at least know who they are, we shouldn't be letting them into the country. They just have, you have to tag them, they're Muslims, okay? But he's not saying, well, let's keep all Muslims out because they're Muslims. He's saying, let's keep them out until we know whether or not they're good Muslims or bad Muslims. Okay, just like, I'm all for letting people come into the United States if they come in here legally. Those are the things he's been saying. And I defend his right to do that. And so what's happened here is now he's standing up in rallies saying, back in the day, somebody did what they're doing right now. They take them out on a stretcher. Well, that's true. Now, I'm not saying that what he's saying isn't inflammatory. It is inflammatory. But that doesn't mean that he's doing it for the purpose of inciting violence or inciting a riot. So these people in Cumberland are sitting down there, the sheriff's down there, trying to figure out how to be politically correct. I guess so they don't have Loretta Lynch targeting their county with federal directives and mandates as to how you're going to handle rallies and what you're going to do and who you're going to let in and who's going to be able to talk and who can't talk. as she's trying to do right now with these directives that are coming out of the White House, trying to direct and tell municipalities and states how to conduct their law enforcement. That's what's going on down there, and that's what this is all about. So anyway, I just want to let you know Trump will not be facing charges of inciting a riot in North Carolina, because there's no evidence to prove that he was the one that's actually incited anything. Now, my thing is this. If people want to show up at an opponent's rally and protest, and they do it peacefully, and they do it within the jurisdiction, I'm not going to say jurisdiction, if they do it within the parameters that are set by the person that is paying for the venue to have his supporters or her supporters show up, and as long as you're not disrupting that parameter of what's going on, you should be allowed to do that. You should be allowed to stand in a Trump rally if you want to hold up a Black Lives Matter sign. But don't be surprised if somebody looks at you and says, hey, that sign is blocking my view. Or, you know what, get it out of my face, because that's not what I'm here for. I didn't come here to listen to you expound upon how you're being mistreated because of the color of your skin. There are rules there. If you want to protest outside the building or whatever, yeah, you have the right to do that, if you do it legally. The violence we had out here against the KKK guys, 6 of them show up, had gone to the offices in Anaheim, City Council, had obtained the proper permits, had permission to have their little walking demonstration. They show up at a park, and they're greeted by 30 Black Lives Matter who had not asked gotten a permit, had not gotten permission to show up and counter-protest these guys. And the first thing to do is cold cock them. Well, is anybody down there charging these 30 people that got arrested for assault? Were they charged with inciting a riot? No, there were no charges filed. No charges filed. Why? Because they were people of color, and they represent Black Lives Matter and La Raza and all these other little politically correct groups, and nobody wants to take that on. But we'll worry about the 6 KKK guys who were left bloodied in the street. So this double-sided thing is really beginning to become so evident, and I can't imagine for the life of me that there are a majority of Americans that would witness all this stuff and think that it's okay for protesters to disrupt, to cause violence, to be the people that are inciting a riot through their protests and their demonstrations, and yet the people that are there for peaceful intent to listen to one of their candidates speak, somebody they like, and have to deal with being called the perpetrators, and the people that are actually down there inciting the violence are the victims. There's something definitely wrong here, and it mostly has to do with the fact that that's the way it is with the left. You're free to speak as long as you're agreeing with me, and if you're not agreeing with me, then you need to be stifled. And the reason you need to be stifled, because if you don't agree with me, you're upsetting me, and it's making me violent. It's making me want to be violent. And as I said yesterday, it's always about how you respond to what's being said and done. I listen to this stuff all the time. I watch all the time. I get as incensed as anybody else. But I'm not so incensed that I'm going to say, at this point, Trump needs to be taken out because of the fact that he's just too vocal. He is too impolite. He is too rude. He is inflaming the dialogue. Well, the dialogue is being inflamed every day, and if it's not by Donald Trump, it's by somebody else. So let's get our facts in a row here. Let's get our thoughts in the right frame of mind here. This is a political season. It's for the highest office in the land. It is an election that's going to determine whether this country returns to being a republic or goes down the toilet as a third world banana republic. And people are heated about it. People are emotional about it. People are getting up and voting for the first time in their lives. Some people are getting up and voting that haven't voted in years. I say, hey, it's all fine and dandy in my mind. It's all fine and as long as you're not saying, hey, let's go out and kill everybody that doesn't agree with us, In my mind, everything is game. Everything is game. That's what makes America what it is. That's why we're not yet a third world banana republic. Okay, it's time to go to a break here. When we come back, I'm going to get into these things that I was talking about earlier, the clips. We're going to be playing some clips here from the circus. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Hey, we're back. And you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, and glad you took the time to join us this Primary Tuesday. Another primary going on out there as we speak. And I'm really kind of hoping that we're able to give you some kind of numbers. I was listening earlier on TV today and saying that in some of the states they may have some results much earlier than people anticipate, because I think in North Carolina in particular, because of the way the polls are conducted and everything, by the time the polls close, there are going to be some counties that have already finished counting. And they're not saying that they're going to be able to give you projections or anything else. Just might be able to give you like who's leading by how much in particular counties where the votes have been counted, or at least tallied enough that they can give some kind of scenario or some type of overview as to what's going on. We'll see. One of the things about our show is we're usually on just when everything is getting hot, but we're off the air by the time any of it is being reported. So that's just one of the idiosyncrasies of coming on in the time zone that we're on. But if you're listening to us out there on High Plains Radio, certainly Dan Butcher, who comes on after us, will be able to give you more details, and some of the other shows on SHR Media and High Plains Radio and Red State Radio. If you're listening to us on Red State, I'm sure they'll have some people over there that are going to be able to give you some numbers as to what's going on. So, having said that, I want to get into my main topic for today. I have been, in the past, been jumping around different topics, trying to get several things in within the 2 hours that we're on the air. Today, I think we'll probably end up just staying on this one topic. And I think the reason being is because it's probably the most important topic that we're talking about in terms of what's going on in the Republican primary and the Republican Party. And I can tell you the things that I'm beginning to see and hear, especially over the last few weeks. I think with the introduction of Romney coming out into the public sphere and making a big speech about how Trump is going to destroy the country if he wins, really opened my eyes to some things. Now, the GOP for the last 2 election cycles, at least, maybe a little bit more than that, has always been suspect with me. Has always been suspect because I just get the feeling that I've always had this feeling that those who are in the establishment, those who are in the inner circle of the primary of the Republican Party, really don't care too much about what goes on with their constituencies. And the pattern that we've been seeing, especially since the rise of the Tea Party, is that the establishment will play to our conservative ideals and principles during election time. And they'll make all kinds of promises what they're going to do if they get majorities, and then once they get a majority, what they're going to do. And then when we start seeing this stuff fan out over the course of another year or two after the election cycle, we find that we have just been marginalized, pushed off to the side, and we get rhetoric from these people as to why they can't do what they promised they would do if we gave them the majorities to do it, which we have done. And so especially after the last one, the loss of the White House with Mitt Romney in particular, and then in 2014 with the gain in the Senate, and they were saying they needed the majority in the Senate to be able to do anything. They had gotten the House in 2010, and we needed it in 2014. We need the Senate now so that we can stop everything that Obama's doing. We can start the process of reversal. They got the majority, and they're still telling us that now what they need is the White House in order to do anything. And then as we begin to hear what they actually want to do, what we find out is that they're not really into the conservative ideology. It's that they want to do what the left is doing, but they want to do it a different way. We want to repeal and replace Obamacare rather than appeal it. They don't want. We want to reform Social Security in such a way that it'll take longer to get benefits, rather than say let's reform it by doing something like what Ted Cruz wants to do. Let's give people that are at a younger age that can benefit by things like 401ks. Let's give them the opportunity to manage their own money for their retirement, that kind of thing. So what we've seen with the Republican Party is this idea that we don't really want to reduce government. We just want to go about expanding it a different way. And, the hypocrisy of that is more than obvious. But the big thing here is the marginalization of the conservative element of the Republican Party. Because we conservatives have too many times now taken people at face value as to what they represent. We put them in office, and then they turn around and they turn against us. And we become the obstacle. It's not even the left anymore. Barack Obama is not the obstacle for the GOP elites anymore. We are, the conservative faction, the Freedom Caucus, those 35 radical dudes and gals in Congress that want to actually do what they were elected to do, and that is to reduce government and to overturn all of Obama's policies. That's not on the agenda of today's GOP party. And so what's happening is it's becoming more, as the GOP elites are becoming more and more panicked, and in some cases I think downright paranoid about what's going on with this rise of Trump, is that we're starting to hear what they really think, and we're starting to see what they really don't know. And I think it has become more than obvious that what we have today is a GOP Republican Party that by and far, because they have ignored the electorate and their base and their constituencies for so long, and just have been relying on their ability for us to fall in line and follow them blindly, and that's not happening anymore, it's beginning to expose who they are, and they're beginning to vocalize it. This thing with Mitt Romney out here right now, campaigning for Kasich in Ohio, and then turning around and campaigning for Rubio in Florida, with the hopes of taking these delegates away from Donald Trump or Ted Cruz, mostly Trump, but Cruz is certainly included in that circle. So that kind of stuff is being exposed. Well, somebody over at Showtime figured out how to expose this, and they created a series called The Circus. And I think there's like 8 segments of it that have come out so far, and they're about a half an hour each, and they come out each week, and they show what's going on behind the scenes at the respective campaigns that are being conducted right now. And I watched 2 of them last night, but I'm going to be playing to you some segments from the next episode that has not aired yet, but that was previewed yesterday. I picked this up on Kelly File. As I said, I've been watching the Kelly File because her forums, I think, have been really good. I'm not a big fan of Megyn Kelly, but the forum has been good. And Sean Hannity has been doing the same thing. I'm even a lesser fan of Sean Hannity, because I think Sean Hannity is just like one election away from becoming a moderate, but or at least an operative. But the forums have been good, and they've been informative, and they've been honest, because they've been put in front of voters, and they haven't been able to walk the line or skirt the issues. So that kind of thing. And so she showed this clip last night. It's about, I think the whole clip is about 4 minutes long or something, and I've broken it down into segments so that we can kind of cover them one at a time here. I'm going to do the first one here, and then we're going to we'll go to our break, and then we'll comment on it. And I hope by the time we get into our next hour, Don Dix will be with us, and he'll be able to get into the meat of these things with us. But the very first clip that I'm going to be playing for you is a clip that has Rick Holt, who is a fundraiser for the GOP. He is a fundraiser for the GOP. He's one of these guys that goes out and raises money, I would imagine, for the RNC. And he's been at it. Now, all these people you're going to hear, all these people have been very involved as operatives for the GOP since 1980, at least 1980 and beyond. And some of them worked with the McCain campaign. Some of them were advisors to Bush Sr. There's one of them's a former RNC chairman. One of them's a former congressman. You know, they've been around, and they've walked the walk a little bit here. So this is the opening clip, the actual opening clip. These gentlemen are all sitting around table, drinking martinis and eating dinner, talking about what we call the Trump phenomenon. So here's clip number one.
Everybody around this table that I know, we've been in every presidential campaign probably since 1980 in various degrees. And in Trump's problem, he doesn't have a compass. You don't know what his compass is.
That's the first clip, and that is Rick Holt, a fundraiser for the GOP. And what he is basically saying is, you know, everybody sitting at this table has been in this game for a while here. We've all got some skin in this thing. And what we know right now, or what we believe right now, is that Trump has no compass, or we can't tell where Trump's compass is. See, this is the first thing that's bothering them. They can't read Trump. They don't know how to deal with him. They don't know where he's coming from. They don't know if he's real or not. Well, that's no different, really, than any of us. I think Trump is a hard read. To my best of my knowledge and my ability to reason, I think the guy is basically a populist. He was just doing the same thing Barack Obama did. He has touched on a nerve, and he has capitalized on that nerve, and he is using it to promote the Trump brand. Now, that's how I see Donald Trump. I don't see him as a qualified candidate. Nonetheless, that doesn't mean that he doesn't have the right to vote, the right to run, and it doesn't mean that people shouldn't vote for him. If people think that that's what they want in office, if they want somebody they deem as an outsider, see, I don't think Trump is an outsider. I think he's simply a politician that has decided to run that never ran for office before and has decided to run now. We got to go to break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion here. Let me get my commercial queued up here. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. Okay, hey, we're back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, and I want to get back into this. Let's see if we can knock one more of these out before our break here at the top of the hour. We'll have Don Dix with us from Act for America next hour, and we'll get into some more of these things. But as I said, I'm playing some clips from a 3-4 minute video segment of The Circus. that is being highlighted or showcased right now on Showtime. If you have Showtime, you need to check it out. If you have On Demand, you can pick up the series and just watch them all. I've watched the last 2 because the first 6 are, at this point, totally irrelevant. It has to do all the way up to where Bush and Carson were still in the race. And Bush dropped out, Carson dropped out, I think. And so those are kind of irrelevant. But the last couple have been very relevant to what's going on right now. So the first clip we had played was Rick Holt, who's a GOP fundraiser, making the observation or believing or making the statement that he believes that nobody knows what Donald Trump's compass is. I mean, we really don't know the direction he's headed or where he's really looking to. He's not, he may not be heading one way or the other, but we don't know what he's looking at. And the thing that the common ground you're going to see or hear in these clips is the total ignorance of the GOP operatives as to what is actually going on, and their unwillingness or their inability to pick it up and understand where it's coming from and why it's happening. That's the big thing, is why it's happening. Why has Trump been able to do what he's been able to do and been so confrontational and so rhetorically incorrect and everything else? And every time he says something that everybody thinks is going to knock him off, his supporters grow in numbers. And so everybody's blaming Trump. Hey, listen, the electorate is pissed off. They're really pissed off. And for all intents and purposes, as much as I hate to admit it, what's happened is the electorate has said, ideology be damned. You're not listening to what I want anyways. Let's burn the place down. Let's take it down. That's what the electorate's doing right now. We don't care about having civil dialogue. We don't care about listening to you tell us how you're supposed to govern. You're not listening to us. We're not listening to you anymore. We want you gone. And if it takes somebody like a Donald Trump with all his rudeness and lack of finesse and everything else to get rid of you guys, then so be it. That is the attitude of the electorate. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying it's there. And we who know how to reason objectively see it. We see it for what it is. I'm not a Trump supporter. I understand what's going on, though. And I would have to defend, as an American citizen, anybody's right to support Donald Trump for whatever reason. If you think Donald Trump is a racist and he's going to kill all the Mexicans and Muslims, and that's why you want to vote for him, you have the right to think that way. Do I agree with you? No. Do you have the right to think that way? Yes, you do. And it is my job as an American citizen, as one who considers myself a person that has a sense of reasoning, it's my position and my responsibility to enter into the dialogue with you and explain to you why I think you're wrong. But the GOP elite today does not want to enter into dialogue with anybody. They don't want to govern. They don't want to debate. They want everybody just to fall in line and follow along. Now, this next clip, I think, will underscore this. This is from Ron Kaufman, and this is a former advisor to George Bush Sr. He served in the Bush Sr. administration, and he makes an observation that apparently nobody else at the table is making or has acknowledged. So we're going to play that for you right now, and then we'll comment on it.
Trump is doing well for one reason. He understands the climate and the culture of America today better than anybody at this table.
Okay, that was Ron Kaufman, advisor to Bush Sr. What's his statement? What did he just say? He said, Donald Trump understands the electorate better than anybody else at this table. Donald Trump understands the electorate better than anybody at this table. Now, what does that tell you? To me, the first question is what? Why is that so? How can you people who all just said or admitted you have been involved in Republican politics since 1980, and you're sitting here now trying to figure out what Trump is doing, why he's doing it, how he's been able to accomplish and go as far as he has, and you're sitting there acknowledging that he understands the electorate better than any of you. Why is that question even, or why is that thought even being brought up? How is it that that is the case? How is it that you people have not figured out what is going on? Wow. Think about that for a minute. Why is it a concern? Well, the GOP elites are concerned about it, but the question is, why is it that way? Why do you not know what's going on in this culture? Why are you so oblivious to it or ignorant of it that you can't look around over the last 6 months? One of the guys in here goes on to talk about how, 6 months ago nobody thought he was a serious political leader. Well, why wasn't it 6 months ago somebody took the time to look and say, hey, what's the temperature out there? What's going on out there? Nobody wanted to do that because nobody thought they had to. Everybody thought this was going to be another Bush versus Clinton contest, and it was going to come down to the lesser of two evils, and we'll just, we'll play up all of Hillary's scandals, and we'll just bear the confrontation and the affront that we're going to get from the left because the media does the same thing every time, and we'll storm through it, we'll withstand it, and we'll end up on top. Because the Democrats are unpopular right now because of what Barack Obama has done to the country. And they just assume that people would get out and go vote again. When in fact Mitt Romney couldn't get the people to get up and vote, and they have doctored their RNC rules to take care of that. They doctored these rules to make sure that Jeb Bush would be the last guy standing. He may not be the most popular, but he would be the guy with all the money when they got to exactly where we are today, into these big states with winner-take-all delegates, and Jeb Bush would have had the money to withstand the onslaught of all the people that would run against him, and it would by the end of today, we'd be hailing the next Bush dynasty. And it didn't work that way. And so the question is, how did you not know that? Could it just be what we have been saying for so many months now, is that the GOP establishment elites didn't care what we think, have marginalized us to the point that we're no longer relevant in what we think because they've been able to play us for fools every election cycle, and they thought the cycle would just be repeated one more time? Is it because they don't really care to know what we think and what we feel and what we want because they haven't figured out? They know how to maintain the status quo. I'm all for maintaining the status quo, as our constitutional framers designed it to be maintained. Not changing it, just simply repeal and replace Obamacare. Repeal Obamacare and put it back in the hands of the free market where it belongs. Let's not talk about reforming the tax code. Let's talk about abolishing the IRS and putting the money back in the hands of the states. Letting them deal with their own education issues. Letting them deal with their own healthcare issues. Letting them deal with their own social issues at whatever those social issues are. Not federal government stepping in and saying, well, this is what we want to do. I think Lewis Black is the one that said it best one time. The Democrats, the Republicans are the party that come up and say, we have an idea. And the Democrats are the ones that say, yeah, and we can make it even crappier. That's how these people are thinking right now. Geez, we just thought everybody would fall in line. I think one of the gentlemen here at the table, we might hear it in one of the other clips next hour here, even makes the comment that, hey, this guy has no sense of authority. Trump does. We are people of authority. We fall in line. I think that's the phrase he uses, and it might be in the next clip. We're coming up to the end of the hour here. It's time for the Edwards Notebook, and then we'll be back, and we'll continue our discussion. As I said, Don Dix will be with us next hour. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
For a man who hasn't paid his taxes, Al Windbag Sharpin sure makes a lot of stupid noise. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, most people who owe at least $5 million in back taxes try to keep a low profile. But thanks to his buddies in government, including the White House occupier, Al Windbag Sharpin is emboldened to loudly spout off some of the dumbest comments in American history. The Reverend Al Sharpton equates the intelligent idea of Congress leaving the decision to vote yea or nay on President Obama's possible choice for the Supreme Court for the next administration with profiling of Obama. Sharpton explained that he sees the racial angle to the debate over the late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia's replacement. What the Reverend Al Sharpton fails to acknowledge is that President Obama has not made one single significant decision that benefits the United States. In fact, the Obama presidency has so damaged America's reputation around the world that our one-time allies no longer view our republic as a leader, powerful or dependable. Yet, our enemies like Iran can depend on this administration bending over to please them. The good news is Reverend Al Sharpton said that he will leave the U.S. if Donald Trump is elected president. Oh, and he can take the suddenly outspoken Mitt Romney with him. Bye now. I'm Ron Edwards.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
It's a latter-day prophet, weighing against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
Hey, and we're back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I am your host, John Matthews, and we are so glad you took the time to join us today, and we're so glad that you're so loyal to us. This show, you know, I'd be talking to empty air, and I'd be honest with you, my first couple years on radio, I know I talked to empty air. I know I was talking to myself, sitting in the old darkened studios out there at KTST-FM out here in Anaheim, and I knew I was just talking to dead air out there for the most part. But I also knew that I had a mission, and I also knew that I just had to keep doing what I was doing and doing it for the right reasons, and I would be blessed. And now, I think last year we were, the final numbers were somewhere around 2 million of you listening to us throughout the course of the year. So we're hoping that we can double that, maybe even triple it this year with everything being the way it is. Hey, anything could happen, huh? Anything could happen. Anyway, we have Don Dix will be with us here, in about 10 minutes or so after we do our next commercial break. We're in our short segment right now. So I just want to kind of rehash here. I don't want to get too far ahead here so that we're talking about things and we bring Don in and he's trying to catch up with us. But I was talking about this program that's out there called The Circus, and it showcases our highlights out there on Showtime. And a very, very informative little documentary. And I would say for all intents and purposes, although I do believe the agenda behind producing something like this is very biased is in its objective and intent, the content itself is not biased. It is raw. It is real. It's not doctored. It is what it is, and that is these people that are behind this program have decided to document what's happening behind the scenes, the things we don't see, and the things we don't hear, and you hear real stuff from the real people involved in this thing, and it is something to watch. It really is something to watch. It's something that I think is, if I was teaching a civics class or a political science class right now, I'd be using this probably as part of my curriculum. That's how I think how informative it is, and actually nonpartisan. Again, I think the agenda behind it is partisan, but the results and the content of the program itself, I think it's very real, very true. And what it is that in this one episode we're talking about, I don't think it's actually aired. I think it's the one coming up next to be aired, and we got a preview of it because I watched the last two last night, and this segment wasn't in either one of them. But the operatives are out there. Some of the more established or well-known operatives within operative circles are talking about the Trump phenomenon and whether or not Trump can be stopped. And there is a guy out there, Ed Goas, who is the head of he's a pollster, and he is the head of the anti-Trump super PAC and worked on the McCain campaign. And when he was asked, you'll hear the clip a little bit later, when he was asked, what are they doing to stop Donald Trump, he smiled and said, we're working on it. I think the introduction of Mitt Romney into the debate or into the campaign process a couple of weeks ago is the beginning of that. Romney's out there stumping for John Kasich in Ohio and then stumping for Marco Rubio down in Florida. I think Rubio and Kasich have cut a deal of some sort with the GOP elites. If we can get this thing to a broker convention, you guys will have a ticket. It'll be a Rubio-Kasich ticket or a Kasich-Rubio ticket or something like that if they have their way. I think that's the thing, and it just hasn't played out. Trump, on the other hand, I think has already picked his VP. I think it's Chris Christie. And it remains to be seen. I don't know. They're talking now Ted Cruz and Carly Fiorina, which I don't know if that's a good idea, but that's one of the things being floated out there. a Cruz Rubio ticket. All these different things are being floated out there as how to possibly take down Donald Trump. And I think at this point, as much as I hate to admit it, the only person that really has a snowflake's chance in hell of beating Trump would be Ted Cruz. Now, Ted Cruz is my guy, but I don't know that he's going to be able to pull it off. I think Trump has, Rick Holt, GOP fundraiser said, Ron Kaufman. Trump understands the electorate better than anybody right now, at least on the Republican side. He has tapped into that same displeasure, disenfranchisement that Barack Obama was able to capitalize on back in 2008. And we're seeing it in the numbers. The numbers are flipping. More people are showing up to vote in Republican primaries and caucuses than in any other since the 2008 election. Barack Obama, the numbers are almost flipped, completely different in terms of people showing up and voting in the primaries. So that Trump has picked up on something. He understands. He at least understands what's going on. Now, whether his solutions are doable or even sincere, that remains to be seen. I have pretty much resigned myself to thinking this. Anything's better than Hillary. That's about all I can say. With Trump, we have a 50-50 chance that we might be able to pull this off. This is our short segment. We're going to go to break. When we come back, Don Dix should be with us. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
We're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews. I'm waiting for our contributor, Don Dix, to check in with us, to do his segment with us. That's what he does every other Tuesday. He comes on, and he has not checked in yet, but that could be due to his travel situation here. I always give people like Don the benefit of the doubt, because we live here in California, and he works out in the Inland Valley, and I know what traffic can be like. He tries to rush home from his radio show and get in front of the microphone to contribute to the show. So we'll just assume that he is going to eventually catch up with us here. But we'll move on here. And I want to get back to these clips that I have been talking about. Excuse me there. Wait, that went down the wrong way. The clips from the documentary that's out there right now called The Circus. And we've already played two of them. One of them is Rick Hull, the GOP fundraiser, saying that nobody knows Donald Trump's compass. Donald Trump, nobody knows his compass. They don't know which way he's pointing. They don't know who he is. And that may be a justifiable assessment. But the question I would have to ask then is this compass that he's talking about, is this measured by the GOP platform or the establishment tradition of everybody falling in line? See, that's the compass. Is the direction Donald Trump is that he doesn't want to fall in line. He doesn't want to play by the rules that have been established and been utilized and followed by most of the GOP elites for several election cycles now, and probably for as long as we can remember. You got to remember, I think I said this at the beginning of the show, I think what we're seeing here is we're seeing the facade that we have envisioned the GOP to be, especially over maybe the last 20 years, and we have envisioned it to be something that it actually isn't. And the GOP has done a very good job of keeping that from being exposed to the public eye. And so every election cycle, we're seeing people who get up and espouse the belief in conservative principles and ideology and values and everything else. And then when it comes down to it, when the time comes to actually govern within those parameters that they have been touting as everything they exist for and everything that they do, all their motivation for what they do, we're beginning to see that that's not exactly what's happening here. Mitt Romney turning from this nice guy candidate. A lot of guys think that he was too nice during the election cycle against Barack Obama, and that's why he lost. Some people thought he was just, he's calm, cool, the demeanor, all the other things that Barack Obama was. He just wasn't the right guy, blah, 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 whatever. And now we're seeing this cutthroat mentality of coming out and slandering a guy who he sought an endorsement from in the 2012 election when he got his ass royally handed to him by Barack Obama. So the turncoat aspect of the politics of you're my friend today and you're my enemy tomorrow, I think that is being revealed. And I think that has probably been why we see so many people recently being elected to Congress. Let's go back to 2010 when we had the big shift in the House of Representatives. 63 seats, if I remember right, changed hands. The biggest upset, the biggest change of power since 1948, after World War II. And a lot of them ran on the Tea Party banner. They're going to go in there and clean Washington up. We've had enough of this. We're going to repeal Obamacare. We're going to do away with the tax code, value tax, fair tax, payroll tax, whatever was being floated out there. And sure enough, everybody, all the electorate, all the constituencies, we all lined up and we said, okay, we'll elect all these people to the Tea Party. And boy, some of them have become some of the biggest voices for the operatives. One of them comes off my mind right now, Joni Ernst. Boy, here was a woman that ran on her military background. And remember her famous line, I know how to get rid of pork because I used to castrate pigs, that kind of stuff. And she has fallen right in line with the elites, with the GOP establishment. Mia Love is another one, was going to go clean house, was going to take care of business, and has voted down the elitist line, the establishment line, on almost every single issue that's been put before. So this whole idea is that these guys go into Washington thinking, hey, I'm the new kid in the block, I'm here to represent my people, and then they are quickly conformed to fall in line and follow what the elites and the establishment has set before, or otherwise they'll be ostracized and put out to lunch. Okay, they will become irrelevant before they ever become relevant. Now, I'm sure that some of them think that well, I'll play along and then eventually I'll become the system. That isn't what happened. That isn't what's happening. It's not happening. It's not going to happen that way. The only way this is going to change is if we completely clean house. If we completely clean house, we have to get rid of these elites. We have to push them out the door, and they have to be gone forever. And we have to get people in there that are citizens, that are willing to serve 1 or 2 terms, and then get out and let another citizen in to continue the job. So we talked about not knowing Donald Trump's compass. And then the second one we played was Ron Kaufman, who was an advisor to George Bush Sr., and he was saying that Trump understands the electorate better than everybody else. There's nobody that knows the electorate right now better than Donald Trump, at least in the GOP party. Okay? My question is, why is that? How did that come about that Donald Trump was able to gauge and able to see what the electorate is looking for, and you people sitting at dinner having this discussion how to stop him won't even acknowledge that maybe he has something. Maybe he has tapped into something. Maybe you should be looking at what he's tapped into and why it is that way. So you guys don't even want to recognize that you're the source of the problem. You just recognize there's a problem. You recognize there's anger and frustration, but you don't recognize that you are the source of that for everything I just said before. Your complete and total disregard for the people that elect you and the marginalization of the party base when it comes time for elections. We're your buddies during election time. Otherwise, you don't want to hear from us. You don't want to see us. You don't want us to know what you're doing. So there it is. Now, this next segment here is with an exchange that goes between Ed Goes and the people behind this series, The Circus. And it has to do with the, let's see, how's it going? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, here it is. Okay. They're being asked what they're going to do to stop Donald Trump. So let's talk about, let's play this clip for you, and you'll have a better understanding of what I'm talking about.
Republicans are hierarchical, respectful of authority. We fall in line, and Trump has interrupted that cycle.
Donald Trump, nobody thought of him as any kind of political leader until 6 months ago.
He's not articulate, he's not poised, he's not informed. All he has going for him is a lot of votes.
I want you to think about that comment right there. Just that comment right there just shows the total, utter disregard for the constituencies out there that are supporting somebody like Donald Trump. First of all, what is it? He's not an articulate guy. He's not polite. And they are people who have been towing the authoritative line, meaning we fall in line. Did you hear that phrase? We fall in line. The party sets the tone and the direction, and we fall in line and follow it. Trump doesn't do that. He's his own guy. And therefore, we have to be concerned about that. We have to be concerned about that. And so, what they're saying here basically is, Trump is just on his own. He's a wild guy. He's a rogue. Remember how they used to call John McCain a rogue? I guess Trump makes John McCain look like a Boy Scout. But here, that's the point here. They're saying, well, what Donald Trump, all he has, there's the line right there, the line I was focusing on. He says, all Donald Trump has is a lot of votes. Think about that for a second. All he has is the support of the people. Other than that, he has nothing. As if to say, if all you have is the support of the people, you have nothing. Which I think translates into the people are nothing. What the people think, what the people want is nothing. We tout an authoritative line. The party directs us, we fall in line. Trump doesn't follow that. And all he's got is the support of the people. Now, I don't know how much more elitist you can get than that. Than to basically come out in the open and confirm what we've been saying is that our views, our opinions, our desires mean absolutely nothing within the construct of the GOP party, what it represents, and what it's supposed to be doing. No, everybody's supposed to fall in line. The party directs, the party sets the direction, and we're all supposed to just fall in line. And that's what we've been doing. We all have been falling in line every election cycle, putting you people back in power with a promise that you're going to do something, but you don't do it. Why? Because the powers that be have told you not to do anything. And so you just continue to marginalize. Donald Trump, all he's got is a lot of votes. Other than that, he's completely disqualified. Well, I think for a party that keeps telling us that they have to win or they want to win, I would think that that would be what you were looking for. Donald Trump has what every candidate and politician dreams of. He has a nonpartisan following. Democrats, liberals, libertarians, conservatives, moderates, everything in between. People are following this guy. And you would think for a party that keeps telling us they want to win, that that would be your dream. You have the dream candidate. Yeah, okay, so his rhetoric's not so clean, so he's not so articulate. So what? He's got the votes that you keep saying you need. And yet you're displacing or discounting those votes as irrelevant because everything else the man possesses or doesn't possess is how you gauge whether he's qualified to be the nominee or the president. Wow. What an ass-backwards way of seeing things. Is it not? Huh. Anyway, so now, my next clip here. I think this is the exchange with Ed Goetz. I think I got my notes mixed around here. Ed Goetz, he's asked, what are you going to do? What are you doing to stop Donald Trump? Let's play the clip here.
I think everyone's kind of buying into this. He's inevitable and that he can't be stopped. I believe he can be stopped.
What are you doing or plan to do to stop him?
He's working with Kate.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you doing?
We're working on it.
Okay, they're working on it. They're working on it. He's had the context of this conversation is this guy's Ed Goetz. He's really kind of like not really wanting to expose or reveal what it is he does. He's a pollster, and he's a pollster who is leading the anti-Trump super PAC, and he worked in the John McCain campaign. And he's really, you can tell by the way, the demeanor, the body language, everything else, he didn't really want to talk too much about what he does. And even when he admitted he was a pollster, he said, well, I guess that's on public record now. He one of these guys, probably one of these little secretive operatives that just kind of operate in the dark in the background and then just, super secret source of information that's out there, whatever. I guess that's what a pollster is. But anyway, they're working on it. Well, how are they working on it? And as if one of the gentlemen had stated earlier, if indeed 6 months ago nobody thought Donald Trump was to be taken seriously, you would have thought, at least somebody would have thought of, well, what are we going to do if he is taken seriously? Were they so convinced and so out of touch that they thought Jeb Bush was just going to rise to the top no matter what? I believe that's what they thought. They really just thought, well, it's going to be Jeb Bush. It's just a matter of how he gets there. And it didn't happen. Bush is gone. And now what we have is this surge of nonpartisan constituencies, people crossing lines. I wonder how many people are registering Republican. I'll tell you what, I registered Republican again today. I'm not a Republican anymore, but I re-registered as a Republican today. I did. Why? Because when the California primary comes out here, the California Republican primary is the only primary that's closed. All the others are open. You can cross Libertarian, Democrat, everything. But in California, unless you're a registered Republican, you can't vote Republican. And I'm voting for Ted Cruz. So I'll unregister once that happens. I'll go back to my affiliation with the Conservative Party USA, only because the Conservative Party USA is not a recognized party here in California. So I have been a registered non-preference, not even an independent, just non-preference. And so I'm going to be doing this. I'll be manipulating my party affiliation depending on who's running. So, but these guys aren't seeing this. They're ignoring, or they're just completely out to lunch when it comes to this idea that people are re-registering just to vote in a Republican primary. They're re-registering. And they may go back to being a Democrat tomorrow or a Libertarian or whatever, but they want their guy, and their guy right now is Donald Trump, whether we like it or not. And until somebody recognizes that in the GOP side and says, this guy has done everything that every candidate in the Republican Party has been trying to do since Lincoln, and that is to have people crossing party lines to vote for him and support him. And instead of taking advantage of that and saying, okay, let's figure out how we can support this guy, I bet you if the GOP elite supported Donald Trump, that his whole rhetoric would change. I bet you in a heartbeat, because I don't think Donald Trump is that staunch in his political ideologies. He's a populist. And if the Republican Party got behind him, I bet you he might just fall in line quite a bit. It's time for a break here. We'll continue our conversation here. We'll be back. It's time for Moments of Madness. Don't go away. Hey, on Moments of Madness. The recent violence that has begun to appear across the country at Donald Trump rallies underscores the truth embedded in the old adage, those who failed to learn from history are too often the idiots that blindly repeat it. Beginning with the removal of Black Lives Matter activists in Georgia, who may have, in all fairness, just wanted to stand silently in protest during Trump's speech, to the sucker punching of a protester being removed for disrupting Trump's speech in North Carolina by a Willie Nelson-looking cowboy, to the 37 arrests for assault, including a very bloody protester in St. Louis, to the nearly riotous outburst in Chicago that led to the hospitalization of several attendees, among them a MoveOn.org organizer. These series of incidences resurrect for those of us older to remember the 1968 Democratic National Convention. The 68 Democratic Convention was a brokered convention brought about by Lyndon Johnson declining to run for re-election, along with the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy within a month of each other. Kennedy was running a close second to then Vice President Hubert Humphrey, who had garnered establishment delegates outside traditional primary protocol. Humphrey was the establishment choice. Kennedy, an anti-Vietnam supporter, the people's savior. Also present at the 68 convention was the anti-establishment movement Youth International Party, known as YIPPY, led by Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin, and the National Mobilization Committee to End the War in Vietnam, called MOBI, led by David Dellinger. Over the course of 4 days, violence routinely erupted on the streets of Chicago, resulting in 589 arrests, 119 and 100 injuries to police and protesters, respectively, and the death of a 17-year-old stopped for a curfew violation who pulled a weapon and fired upon officers. Here's the madness. Parallels between the 68 convention and what we see playing out today are more than eerie. For instance, there is once again the prospect of a DNC brokered convention, this time to ensure an establishment nominee wins with superdelegates should the current frontrunner with more than a shady past be indicted. Her opponent is a popular socialist lauded by the college crowd who feels the burn. Just as chilling is the even more serious prospect of a GOP brokered convention to stop a populist who refuses to play by establishment rules and in doing so has captured demographics establishment candidates can only dream of. Following the 68 convention, another radical group formed at Ann Arbor, Michigan by Students for a Democratic Society called SDS. Founded by a radicalized Bill Ayers, the Weather Underground capitalized on the anti-Vietnam movement and the rise of the Black Panthers. The Weathermen, as they came to be called, participated in bombings of police stations and government installations like the Pentagon, along with riots that coincided with the trial of the Chicago 7, those who had been arrested on conspiracy charges the year before during the 68 Democratic Convention. Today, college campuses across the country have their own underground, Black Lives Matter, many of them who are being trained by MoveOn.org, who we now see showing up in larger and larger number at Trump rallies. The only impartiality they display is the fact they squeeze in at an occasional Clinton event on their quest to whine and moan about their identity dilemma. And who do these self-proclaimed disenfranchised college youths look for inspiration? None other than Bernie Sanders, self-avowed democratic socialist who spews forth his own revolutionary rhetoric of government overthrow through redistribution economics. Yes, the parallels are as uncanny as they are eerie.
Even more frightening, though, is the prospect this time around. While everyone acknowledges the inmates are running the asylum, no one in charge seems to care enough to put any of them back in their straitjackets. My guess is they just want to watch history repeat itself. Unfortunately, there are enough idiots running the streets to make it so. This is John Matthews for Moments of Madness. You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you have been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Okay, hey, we are back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, and I can tell by all the rattling back there, we've got Don Dix. Don Dix is finally tuned in with us. How are you doing today, Don?
Much better now, thank you, that I'm with you. I had to rescue my significant other from a car problem.
Ah, okay. Not a problem, not a problem. Those things happen. Those things happen. Unfortunately for me, though, my wife doesn't drive, so I'm just always going somewhere to pick her up.
All right, very good. Well, I can personally now vouch for the value of buying a battery from a big box store.
Okay, what we've been talking about pretty much the whole show is this video clip that I saw on Kelly File last night. And it got me over onto Showtime, and I looked up this series that Showtime has been putting on out there called The Circus. And I find it to be a very honest, informative documentary type of thing. They go out every week, half-hour segment on what's going on behind the campaign scenes. And even though I know there's bias in the intent of the documentary, but the information that they're giving the public is very straightforward. It's uncensored. It's not edited. They're just simply asking these people questions, and they're getting very honest answers. And this segment that I watched last night, it's about a 4 or 5 minute segment. It's a dinner that they had between about 5 or 6 of these established elite operatives for the GOP, and they're trying to get their heads around why Donald Trump is having as much success as he's having. And where we're at right now is I'm getting ready to play a clip here.
This is Mike Duncan. He's a former RNC chairman. And this is in light of a previous comment that was made by Ed Rogers, former advisor for Bush Sr., that all Donald Trump has going for him is a lot of votes. He's not qualified. He's not articulate. He's not intelligent. All he's got going for him is a lot of votes. And I thought within the context of this comment by Mike Duncan about winning, you would think that Donald Trump has done what probably no other candidate has done, and that has crossed all these ideological lines and got people following him. So I'm going to play the clip, and then I'll get your take on it. This is Mike Duncan, former RNC chairman, and he's being asked, how important is it that the Republicans win the election?
Which concerns you more? That he'd lose the general if he were the nominee, or how he'd do as president?
Losing the election, what we're facing is a choice between Hillary and
So
Trump.
what you're saying is vote for the least of two evils.
Do you know for sure Trump would be a better president than Hillary Clinton?
No, but it's a risk that I'm willing to take. If we get off into splitting our party, we can't put it back together. Humpty Dumpty won't come back together.
That's the great dividing line.
Okay, that was Mike Duncan, and he is basically reasserting what I think many people are saying right now, and that is that if the Republicans fall apart because of all this, the way it's coming down the pipe, that they'll never be able to put it back together. What's your take on this, Don?
Well, a couple of things. Your comment there in the opening was this candid sort of look behind the scenes, and my thought was, okay, yeah, to the degree that we're being allowed to look behind the scenes, yes. Is this really the look behind the scenes of what's really being discussed and contemplated in advance of the RNC convention in Cleveland? I don't know. I can tell you one thing. What I hear from the California Republican chairman, from the podium, from the candid comments, is completely different from what we see being done when the strings are actually being pulled. So, it's great that we're being given this glimpse, but I'm not sure how valuable it is, particularly coming up to the convention. The way I think it's stacking up right now, the most important group of people at the RNC convention are going to be the 112 people that sit on the rules committee. Because some of these rules that we've seen generated in the past are going to be rewritten for this convention. Like, for instance, there was a rule saying that a candidate must, at the last convention, a candidate must win a majority, meaning 50% or more, in 8 states in order to be, qualified.
Right.
Well, they can change that rule. That's not a rule that's in the bylaws. That's a rule that can change from convention to convention. If they can change that rule, what other rules that were just not, being that, myself and other people who were kind of looking at this from the outside are sort of new at looking at what other rules can be changed. So having said that, though, the head scratching that's going on about, trying to grapple with what is it about Trump that's making him, bring people over from other side of the aisle. What is it about Trump that's gathering all of this groundswell of support? It's mystifying to a lot of people that are smarter than me. One of the things that I can say, though, is that Donald Trump is in a very important way lifting the veil on things and forcing conversations into the forefront that the media, that the elites, that they've been reluctant to have. The conversation on immigration, the conversation on Islam, and so many other conversations. That's part of his appeal. The other part of his appeal, quite frankly, is, and we saw this on Friday night, and here's the question that, for me, came out of what happened in Chicago at the University of Chicago, Illinois, on Friday night. Is Donald Trump the problem, or is he exposing the problem? Friday night was an interesting evening because, you're mentioning you pulled this segment from Megyn Kelly's show last night. I watched the first half of her show last night, and it sickened me because I thought, am I watching a soap opera or am I watching news? Mm-hmm. She spent the first 15 minutes running clip after clip of the violence that happened at the I don't want to say violence, but of the heated interaction between the Donald Trump supporters and the thousands of, socialists that invaded his event. That was no accident. That was orchestrated. You had 180 professors that went to the that went to the university dean and said, cancel this event. When they wouldn't cancel it, they began organizing with the help of MoveOn.org and a couple of others. They began organizing what the Marxist social justice warrior response is, which is equally violent. I mean, the press didn't even cover. We're hearing anecdotal reports now from people on the Chicago police force that are talking about how, these protesters were throwing things. You had a cop that was, hit on the head with a brick. So who are the real violent people? Yeah, you had that one guy that Megan liked to sort of focus in on that, body checked a protester. But that protester was being ejected for things that he did. It wasn't like he was just walking up the aisle.
Right.
He was being ejected because of the way that he conducted himself. So was that sort of, reaction by that Donald Trump supporter hitting that guy, was that because he felt emboldened by Donald Trump, or was that because of a reaction to the protester who, in that guy's mind's eye, deserved it because of the way he was conducting himself at a public event, denying Donald Trump his free speech access?
Yeah. I want to dig deeper into that. You hit the nail on the head. But I got to run a real quick short break here.
Sure.
We'll be right back with Don Dix from Act for America. Stay with us.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
We're back. Welcome back. This is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, man, prophet of the airways, and we have with us Don Dix doing his segment with us this week. And we left the conversation here. I also saw what you saw on Megyn Kelly, and as soon as I saw that, I immediately recognized what was going on here. Fox News has joined the Operation Romney. Let's see how much damage we can put on Donald Trump. And to me, what it exemplified is this narrative that, and you hit on it here. There's this narrative that everybody just seems to fall into now so easily that whenever there's some type of confrontation, the people that are actually responsible for the confrontation are portrayed as the victims, and the victims are the ones that are portrayed as the perpetrators. The idea that these people en masse through, as you said, MoveOn.org. La Raza was another one of them that was involved in this thing. There were several other ones. MoveOn.org, by the way, is an Obama organization who's supporting Bernie Sanders. Most of these people were Bernie Sanders supporters. They interviewed some of them. Most of them, all of them said they were Bernie Sanders supporters. So that kind of leads to the concept of the Alinsky-type revolution mentality kind of thing. Although Bernie Sanders is trying to play the innocent guy. Oh, I don't condone this. My people aren't doing that. Okay, they just said that for whatever reason. But my point, and back to what you're saying here, is that I think the thing that was keen to me about these little segments that I've been playing is that there seems to be at least superficial, and I don't know if it's a performance or whatever, of a lack of knowledge. I mean, how can people in the GOP operatives say things like, well, Trump understands the electorate better than anybody at this table? And it's like, why? Well, why is that the case? Well, why does he understand what's going on better than you guys? Or does he understand? But I'll make one other comment here, and I'll give you the mic. The surfacing of Mitt Romney here, out campaigning, first his anti-Trump speech. He's campaigning for Kasich in Ohio, and he's campaigning for Rubio in Florida. And it tells me that we're very much into this elitist idea, the establishment of doing something to try to stop something that they probably should have done a long time ago.
Well, I read an article early last week that sort of lifted the lid on the strategy to try to stop Trump in Florida by having Rubio say to his supporters in Ohio, vote for Kasich, and have Kasich say to his supporters in Florida, vote for Rubio, as a way to try to deny Trump 2 winner-take-all states. Kasich denied that. He said, why would I do that last night on Hannity? Why would he do it? I don't know. I mean, is that a public? John Kasich, I think, is a fairly transparent guy. I don't think he's the kind of guy that runs games. But there's one thing that you said right in the outset that what we're seeing from Fox is this. Bill O'Reilly's opening statement, I think, nailed it on the head. I don't think that he was mirroring what Megyn was doing. And that led me to believe that what Megyn was doing was almost personal versus Bill O'Reilly trying to do take a step back and do an analysis of what had happened, in Chicago on Friday night. Because I think Bill O'Reilly kind of hit it on the head with what we're saying, that the left is way more organized in pushing back on Trump than even the fellas that are on this program, the circus.
Right.
So I'm not sure it's an all-out Fox sort of corporate memo will do this. And so that was a relief to me to see Bill O'Reilly do that, because to me, in my mind, that kind of dispelled the idea that okay, it's all anti-Trump all the time on Fox.
Hell hath no fury than like a woman scorned, right?
Exactly. So I think the first half of that program was, and then she got into the weeds. I don't want to take this, I don't want to distract from the conversation, but to my point about the first half hour of Megyn's show. And then she spent all this time on the little kerfuffle over at Breitbart between Ben Shapiro and this, and I was like, Megyn, come on. I mean, are you going to cover every little kerfuffle that allows you to point a finger at Donald Trump?
Right.
And that's exactly what it was. It was an intramural spat that deserved no airtime on national TV, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
well, shifting back if we can, just to the Chicago thing, what was going on in Chicago here. I made the parallels right away. In fact, our Moments of Madness was pretty much about this. The parallels between this and the 1968 Democratic Convention, which also consisted of riots created by college students. At that time, it was Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin. That set the foundation for the Weather Underground, Bill Ayers group, which had riots during the trials of the Chicago 7 and began to intertwine with the Black Panthers. And Bill Ayers was one of the first people out there tweeting on Friday night, oh, yeah, we stopped Trump. He included himself in that. So there's no doubt to me that this, And here's one thing. Let me get you a comment on this. I find it strangely eerie that Barack Obama at this point is completely absent of any. He's not garnering any attention. I mean, this guy's been asked everything that happens in this country, like who's going to win the NCAA March Madness. I mean, they ask him about everything. Not one mention of Obama during this whole thing.
Well, yeah, that's true, and there's echoes of Obama through this. He famously said, "If they bring a knife to the fight, we'll bring a gun." I mean, yeah, he was quoting a movie, but do you think he meant that? I think he did. I think he meant that in every sense, not a physical gun, but the essence of that comment is we're gonna ratchet it up. Whatever the level is that they bring, we're gonna ratchet it up one level beyond that. And I think that's the mainstream media sort of protecting Obama in a way. Not that he. I don't think he can weigh in on this because this is, where did he come from? He comes from this. These are his people. This is his cause. This is his everything. And we've talked in the past about, where does Obama go after this? I think he goes to the UN. You've got Ray Rafke that was the founder of Acorn that is now in charge of a international movement to unionize.
Right.
And so, his neck, he doesn't need to weigh in on it personally. And the media, doesn't want to tarnish him for his next job, whether it's the UN or some other world community organizing endeavor. There's nothing to be gained for him to be weighing in on this, really, and nothing for Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton to gain from him weighing in on it.
Right. Let me throw one other thing here. We got about 3 minutes here left with you today. One of the remarks that was made at the table during this segment that I've been playing, I'll just paraphrase it in the interest of time. The Ron Kaufman, the former advisor for Bush Sr., was asked about the importance of, you want to stop Trump, but we're talking about Supreme Court justices here. Are you willing to sacrifice everything and let Hillary be the one to appoint these justices? And there seemed to be hesitation on their part as to whether that was really. They agreed it was an issue, but they didn't really come to a conclusion as to whether Trump would be better in selecting Supreme Court justices. What's your take on that?
Well, we know with Hillary what direction that's going to take, so we don't need to use any time on that. As far as Trump goes, I mean, the one thing that he's been true to a couple of things throughout his campaign. One of the things he's been true to is he has stood by his number one claim not to be politically correct, and he hasn't. So good on him for standing up to the leftist PC smack and, the need that we have to stay inside this language box. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I think that, hopefully he brings to the table, because based on the results coming out of the, today's election, it looks like he's going to pick up some good numbers, and who knows whether he enters the convention, whether it's going to be a contested or open convention. I gotta believe that if it's him, and I'm no Trump supporter by any stretch of the imagination. There are concerns I have, but he has made a big deal out of his ability to pick and select people to lead his cabinet. I mean, to lead his administration if elected. Right. So to the degree that Trump has that ability to pick and sort of a leading group of folks to run his deal, I've got to have hope that he's going to do that he's going to find the right people to lead his The thing that scares me of going into the general election, he has no on the ground infrastructure. This is a strength of Cruz. It's a weakness of Trump. He's done these big rallies. He has not in these states developed the grassroots campaign door to door infrastructure. Can he turn the corner? Hopefully. But that remains to be seen. Yeah. But I gotta hope that he's gonna find the right people, maybe even a Ted Cruz, to advise him on the people that need to be put in that Supreme Court. Hopefully, they're conservatives.
Right. Let's hope that he if Cruz doesn't win the nomination in the presidency, let's hope Ted Cruz is the guy he chooses.
There you go.
That would be great. We're out of time here. We're out of time, Don. I'm sorry. We gotta cut it off here.
Sure.
Real quick here, give your website out. I got about 20 seconds, and I'm going to have to cut you off.
Very good. I would encourage people to go to the uniteye.com website. Big event in Southern California this Saturday, the 3rd annual Conservative Conference. Great speakers, Bill Whittle, Larry Elder, Alfonso Rachel, Representative Louis Gomer. Get your tickets. Be there if you're in Southern California.
All right. Thanks a lot, Don. And we're done for the night, guys. We'll be back tomorrow, 3 o'clock out here in the West Coast, 6 o'clock on the East Coast. Thank you for your loyalty. Check out our website here at the conservativesyndicate.net. We love you. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all of our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's the conservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best and uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, signing off until next time, right here on the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.